Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Count.
Call the buzzer. Call the...
Take him back! Take him out!
You die in prison as well.
First up, we're in Seattle, Washington, for the sentencing of convicted killer Joseph McEnroe. The 36-year-old was found guilty of brutally murdering 6 members of his girlfriend's family on Christmas Eve. McEnroe and the girlfriend opened fire on her parents, later waited for her brother to arrive, then shot and killed him, his wife, and their 2 young children. Michelle Anderson, the girlfriend and alleged mastermind of the gruesome plot, was said to have convinced McEnroe into committing the murders. The motive? Her brother allegedly owed her money. After a more than 2-month trial in which McEnroe wasn't heard from, prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. But now, in this penalty phase, McEnroe takes the stand for the first time to plead his case for a lesser sentence.
What did you do to try to stop this, Joe?
I can't even say now. I tried everything that I could.
Well, why not just walk out the door and leave?
I couldn't do that.
McEnroe remains emotionless, even as he describes exactly how he murdered one of the victims.
Then she wasn't moving anymore, and so I went over by where she was, and I told her that I was sorry, and I shot her in the head.
But in a split second, something changes. McEnroe breaks down as he describes what he saw as he cleaned up part of the crime scene.
See the emptiness where she should be.
But what came next for McEnroe was perhaps the best indicator of just how divorced from reality he'd become.
At least nobody suffered. The way that it is, at least nobody suffered.
Joseph McEnroe and Michelle Anderson would each be sentenced to 6 life terms in prison for the murders of Anderson's family members. Next, we take you to Hillsboro, Oregon. The defendant is 55-year-old Felix Espinoza Quiroz. He's been charged with rape, sodomy, and incest, as well as tampering with a witness. That's Espinoza Quiroz in the light blue shirt. Her testimony agitates the defendant, and he begins shouting and gesturing in her direction. The judge immediately excuses the jury. Espinoza Quiroz's attorney tries to keep things calm, but it doesn't seem to be working. And as the prosecutor goes to remove the witness, Espinoza Quiroz loses it. He overturns the table with his head. A bailiff intervenes, but the defendant still manages to shove his attorney. The bailiff removes her taser, and the defendant takes off. She pursues. Now she's back, but from this angle, there's no sign of the taser or the defendant. While the rest of the room looks on, the bailiff chases after the defendant again. Backup arrives, and the witness is removed. The bailiff returns to grab what appear to be shackles. After a few minutes, a cuffed Espinoza Quiroz is led back into the courtroom. He's later found guilty on 2 counts of sexual abuse in the first degree, as well as witness tampering for asking the witness to recant her story. He was sentenced to a total of 10 years in an Oregon state prison. We're in Royal Oak, Michigan. It's around 10:40 a.m. and police just witnessed the driver of this SUV throw a cigarette out the window. Moments later, the driver makes a turn without signaling, then accelerates the speed limit. After officers pulled the vehicle over, they reportedly noticed the odor of alcohol coming from inside. The driver's then removed and ordered to perform a set of field sobriety tests.
What I want you to do is I want you to focus on the tip of my finger. It's going to move side to side. Focus on it with your eyes and keep your head still, okay? Keep your head still. What I want you to do is I want you to picture an imaginary line in front of you. Place your left foot on the imaginary line. Now, you're going to take 9 heel-to-toe steps out along that imaginary line, counting your steps out loud. You can start whenever you're ready. Are you able to do it? You want to try?
Let's call that strike one.
Next, I want you to count backward 54 to 37. Stand? Okay, go ahead. Whenever you're ready. 37.
There's strike two.
All I need you to do is wrap your lips around this tube. You're going to both do just like this. You don't have anything to do, right? Might have to look real quick.
As they wait for the breathalyzer results, the officer asks the driver a sobering question.
Do you think you should be driving right now? Do you have kids?
I have kids.
If you had your kids in the car, would you be driving right now?
No.
Can you read that out loud for me?
And strike three.
So it's legal in 0.08. So at this point, I am going to place you under arrest for operating while intoxicated. I'm going to turn around, put your hands behind your back, and your release your fingers.
Mr. Rivera, are you bringing me to jail?
I am.
What so far has been a pretty typical traffic stop and arrest takes an interesting turn when the driver tries to plead her case.
Is there any way... I'm really gonna... I don't drink and drive. I'm running for an office right now.
Okay.
This will me up really bad. I'm running for an office right now.
And not just any office. 49-year-old Julie McDonald is a local attorney, and she's running for county circuit court judge.
This will me up really bad.
No, there's not a lot of discretion I have with something like this.
Now I understand.
I can't give them the rules.
Around 11:45 a.m., McDonald arrives at the police station, tells officers she'd consumed 4 vodka drinks the night before, and agrees to another breathalyzer test. This one reads .08, which is exactly Michigan's limit, and technically considered drunk driving, but also falls within the test's .004 margin of error. McDonald would later plead guilty to careless driving and littering for tossing the cigarette out the car window in exchange for the dismissal of the drunk driving charge. She was required to pay $2,000 in court fees, continue daily testing for alcohol use, and complete 40 days of community service. As for her bid for county circuit court judge, it was a success. But 8 months after she was arrested, Michigan Supreme Court ordered a 45-day unpaid suspension for her misconduct behind the wheel.
His selfishness, his complete disregard of and disrespect of others and life.
Next, we take you to Cincinnati, Ohio, for the sentencing of 23-year-old Jaleel Smith Riley. Nearly 3 years earlier, 20-year-old Portia Brooks was in her car with boyfriend Aaron Martin when Smith Riley and 2 men approached, looking to rob them. You can see the group on the security footage as they near the vehicle. Smith Riley ordered Martin out of the car, and when he didn't have any cash, he shot him in the head, causing permanent brain damage.
There was a guy outside of the car who looked like he was bleeding from multiple spots.
Smith Riley then leaned into the car and fired at Brooks.
There's a lady in it, and she's bleeding.
She died 3 days later. After a lengthy investigation, police arrested Smith Riley, charging him with both shootings. To avoid the death penalty, he pled guilty to aggravated murder and attempted murder. He's now facing a sentence from anywhere between 23 years to life without parole. But before sentencing, with victim Aaron Martin sitting in the gallery, Portia Brooks' family speaks directly to the court, as well as the man who shattered their lives.
He killed me mentally, emotionally. He killed my identity as a mother of 3, as a family of 4. This is what I have left because of his greed, his selfishness, his complete disregard of and disrespect of others and life. This is what I have left. I talk to her, I kiss her, I hold her. But as you can see, I get nothing back except the reality that she is gone.
Next to speak was Portia's younger sister.
He wants parole. Well, I want my sister. Let's trade. I have to deal with life without Portia, so he should deal with life without parole.
Then it's Smith Riley's turn to try to convince the court that he deserves leniency.
Lord. Go back and win. I'm so sorry. This is what I'm going with.
And his attorney offers some final words.
This is somebody that feels genuine remorse. This is somebody that thinks about this every day, and he knows that he can't go back in time and not do what he did.
Finally, it's Judge Charles Kubicki who gets the last word.
For defendants serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4, for the offense of attempted murder.
Receives a life sentence. He is not eligible for parole. Next, we go to a deposition in Mansfield, Rhode Island, where the witness is Dr. David Eligman. He's testifying for the plaintiff, who's suing AC&S, a company that made parts for automobile brakes. The plaintiff claims he was exposed to asbestos, which caused him to develop mesothelioma, a type of cancer. The attorney representing the defendant is Samuel Terry, who sits off camera. He's questioning Dr. Eligman about the other workers and their exposure to asbestos. We'll admit testimony related to brake manufacturing is pretty dry, but things are about to heat up.
You say we are now aware of at least 6 additional mesothelioma cases in workers from the plant. 4 of whom had no other possible exposures to asbestos. Is that what you said?
Right.
Joining Eligman and Terry inside the room is Shepard Hoffman, the plaintiff's attorney, as well as a court reporter and other lawyers. There's also about a dozen participants listening in over the phone.
You say despite the fact that Tata is a co-author of one of the brake manufacturer-funded papers and works for the company that generated 3 of these papers.
Deposition interruptus.
The brake manufacturer-funded researchers failed to use any of these studies or data to assess the hazard of exposure to chrysotile-lined brakes. Is that what you said?
Doesn't sound like there are any objections from at least one person.
To assess the hazard of exposure to chrysotile-lined brakes. Is that what you said?
It seems someone has forgotten to press mute on the phone, and Dr. Eligman is clearly distracted. But Terry keeps going.
Did I read it correct? You right. Oh, I can't. Is there a party going on?
Terry finally hears it, as does probably everyone else listening to the deposition. The plaintiff's attorney decides to speak up.
The deposition on videotape also has a phone hookup. About a dozen people on the phone, and we're now listening to background noise on the phone. Phone people, would you put your mute buttons on so that those of you who are having the fun of the party or whatever you're doing that we're listening to, so we don't have to listen to it, and so the videotape doesn't have it. Thank you very much.
Hopefully, Hoffman's message was heard, but Dr. Eligman isn't about to take any chances.
Why don't we take a few-minute break?
Okay, before I start. That's a good idea.
Time is 4:02. We are off the record.
As far as the civil case, AC&S eventually filed for bankruptcy and set up a trust of $500 million to settle the resulting lawsuits. And in case you're wondering, no one came forward publicly to claim responsibility for the so-called party. We're in the 45th District Court in Oak Park, Michigan, where James Ciamataro awaiting sentencing. He's just pled no contest to 3 felony charges of identity theft. Ciamataro pretended to be a licensed builder, then swindled multiple customers out of thousands of dollars.
I don't want to affect anyone anymore. I just want to work. That's it. I just want to work.
Seems like a reasonable request, but the judge has a simple question for this perennial hustler.
Well, sir, I don't understand why you didn't do that initially. I mean, your criminal record is replete with taking other people's money.
Ciamataro has a lengthy history of defrauding customers. He was the subject of an undercover investigation where he was caught on camera lying to a prospective client about his non-existent certification.
Yeah, what kind of license do you have, just so I know?
Builder's license.
Okay.
Ciamataro faces similar charges in 3 different counties. One couple in their early 70s gave him over $3,000 to rebuild their bathroom, but he vanished before doing any of the work. He stiffed another customer who gave him $2,500 to convert a bathtub into a shower. Once again, he split before even starting the job.
Frankly, the depth and breadth of your deceit and non-performance is appalling.
Yet somehow, time and again, walks away without jail time. Until today.
I was dismayed by the number of charges and convictions at this point for theft of other people's money.
Judge, I made a horrible mistake in my life. Horrible. And for the rest of my life, I will deal with that. Even with this on my record, I will for always. The embarrassment I've gone through being on the news, I will forever always be known as that.
Ciamataro's consistent disregard for the law catches up with him. For the 3 felony identity theft charges, Judge Anderson orders Ciamataro to pay more than $15,000 in restitution and sentences him to 90 days behind bars. Rob Wolchek is the journalist whose dogged pursuit of Ciamataro was key in securing justice for those he cheated. Joining us now is Emmy Award-winning reporter Rob Wolchek.
So how did complaining about contractors, and I got a lot of contacts about James Ciamataro and his company, and I went out and interviewed the people, and it looked good.
Were you the one responsible for exposing him?
Oh yeah, I'm the one that exposed him. I mean, we set up a little undercover thing where we had a fake customer call, and so then we set him up for another estimate on a house, and he showed up, and that's when I went out and busted him.
What'd you think when he got the 2-year probation GPS monitor sentence?
I thought it was a terrible, ridiculous sentence. I'll tell you right now, I went up to the prosecutor afterwards and I said, what gives? You got to be kidding me. You know, this guy has been ripping off people all over Macomb County. You got a bunch of cases, and he gets out, just blew me away. I didn't like it.
Do you know what's happened to him since sentencing?
After he got done serving the 90 days in Oakland County, from what I gather, it looks like he got arrested in Waterford for pretty much doing the same thing. He didn't learn his lesson. He tried getting back in the contracting business and apparently ripped off somebody else.
When you interviewed him, he portrayed himself as the victim of identity theft. Seems he was doing something similar with regard to being a victim in court.
Yeah, I was shocked to see him boo-hooing and ooh. I thought it was an ad.
I just want to work. That's it. I just want to work.
The guy was just pathetic, acting like he was so broken up. Oh, I just want to work. I just want to work. I was not impressed.
Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. That's it for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.